Down how many roads among the stars must man propel himself in search of the final secret? The journey is difficult, immense, at times impossible, yet that will not deter some of us from attempting it. We cannot know all that has happened in the past or the reason for all of these events, any more than we can with surety discern what lies ahead. We have joined the caravan, you might say, at a certain point. We will travel as far as we can, but we cannot, in one lifetime, see all that we would like to see or learn all that we hunger to know. Loren Eiseley, naturalist, philosopher, essayist, professor, poet, penned these words in 1957 in his very first book, The Immense Journey. You and I, let us join the caravan today, if only for a few paces. Our guide was a man who can't be easily pigeonholed. Scientist? Poet? He was both and more. He was born in Nebraska and made important finds there in his field, including south of Baird in 1932, the fossilized remains of two saber-toothed tigers that died in combat when the razor-sharp fangs of one locked into the leg of the other. This was one of many finds he made in the Nebraska Panhandle. He turned his poetic and contemplative gaze upon those interlocked big cats of 40 million years ago, in what may be his most famous poem, The Innocent Assassins.
Innocent assassins. Once in the sun-fierced badlands of the West, in that strange country of volcanic ash and cones, runneled by rains, cut into purgatorial shapes, where nothing grows, no seeds spring, no beast moves, we found a saber-tooth, most ancient cat, far down in all those cellars of dead time. What was it made the mystery there? We dug until the full length of the striking saber showed, beautiful as Toledo steel, the fine serration still present along the blade, a masterpiece of murderous art, conceived by those same forces that heaved mountains up from the flat bottoms of Cretaceous seas. Attentive in a little silent group, we squatted there. This was no ordinary death, though 40 million years lay between us and that most gaping snarl. Deep driven to the root of a fractured scapula hung on the mighty saber undetached. Two beasts had died in mortal combat, for the bone had never been released. There was no chance this cat had ever used its fangs again or eaten. Died there, in short, though others of its kind grew larger, suddenly were gone, while a great darkness went about its task. Mountains thrust up, mountains worn down, till this lost battle was exposed to eyes the stalking saber-tooths had never seen. Pure nature had devised such weapons, struck deep in the night, endured immortally, death, ambush, terror, by these, her innocents, whose lives revolved on this, whose brains were formed only to strike and strike, beget their kind, and go to strike again. There were the great teeth snarling in the clay, the bony crests that once held the muscles for this deed, perfect as yesterday. I looked a little while, admiring how that marvelous weapon had been so designed in unknown darkness, where the genes create as if they planned it so. I wondered why such perfect fury had been swept away, while man, wide-roaming dark assassin of his kind, had sprung up in the wake of such perfect instruments as these. They lived long eras out, while we, in all this newborn world of our own violence, show uncertainties and hopes unfostered, when the cat's sheer leap wrenched with his killing skill his very self from life. On these lost hills that mark the rise of brain, I weep perversely from the beauty gone. I weep for man who knows this antique trade, but is not guiltless, is not born with fangs, has doubts, suppresses them as though he knew nature had other thoughts, inchoate, dim, but that grandeur of great cats attracted him. Envy, perhaps, by a weak creature forced to borrow tools from the earth, growing in them most cunning upon an outworn path. I see us still upon that hilltop, gathered like ancient men, who, weaponless, detach from an old weathered skull a blade whose form reshaped in flint could lift death up from the earth's inanimate core and hurl it at the heart. Whatever else would bring cold scientists to murmur over what they saw. We are all atavists, and yet sometimes we seem wrapped in wild innocence like Sabertooth, as if we still might seek a road unchosen yet, another dream.
By the time of Eiseley's death in 1977, he had written more than 15 books and 3 volumes of poetry. A critic had this to say about Eiseley's approach. Writing itself becomes a form of contemplation. Contemplation is a kind of human activity in which the mind, spirit, and body are directed in solitude toward some other. Eiseley has the uncanny ability to make us feel that we are accompanying him on a journey into the very heart of the universe. Our guide on this journey described himself thus: I was born on the Great Plains and was drawn almost mesmerically into its rougher margins, the Wildcat Hills and the Badlands, where bone hunting was a way of life. Few outside of the profession of paleontology realize that the eroded areas called Mauvaises Terres on the maps of the old voyagers contain the finest tertiary fossil beds to be found anywhere in the world. Most of our knowledge of the successive American faunas is derived from excavations in these sterile, sun-washed regions. As a young man engaged in such work, my mind was imprinted by the visible evidence of time and change of enormous magnitude. To me, time was never a textbook abstraction. Its remnants lay openly about me and arroyos in the teetering eroded pinnacles of Toadstool Park, or further north in the dinosaur beds of Wyoming. Finally, through some strange mental osmosis, these extinct, fragmented creatures merged with and became part of my own identity. Certainly, in mind and body, we have been many things, but the story is not fantasy. It lies written in exposed rock and strewn across old tablelands. To me, who through the vicissitudes of youth was drawn early into that haunted country, it was impossible not to leave a personal record beyond what was shipped and, for all I know, may still be lying in its stone matrix in museum basements. I was one of the bone hunters, but I was also something else, a fugitive, assuming the animal masks of many ages. Our brief stint together on the caravan today, on this immense journey with Loren Eiseley, must come to an end. But you can continue on. The Loren Eiseley Society has brought together many of his most powerful essays into one volume. And for more information on the writer and his life and work, please visit www.eiseley.org.